Welcome to Fact or Fiction with Don Spiritz. In this crazy world, it's tough to know what's real and what's just a crazy story. Every week we've got 3 tales that'll bend your mind. Tale 1. The Phantom Phone Call. Welcome back to Fact or Fiction with Don Spiritz. Tonight, we're diving into a chilling tale of a connection from beyond the grave. Sarah hadn't heard her grandmother's voice in months. Grandma Rose had passed away peacefully in her sleep, but Sarah still missed their nightly chats. One evening, the phone rang. Sarah glanced at the caller ID. No caller ID, unknown number. Hesitantly, she answered, "Hello?" A family member's voice responded, "Sarah, is that you?" Sarah's heart skipped a beat. It was Grandma Rose. Her voice, her gentle tone, everything. "Grandma, is that really you?" Sarah whispered, tears welling up. "Yes, darling," the voice replied. "I just wanted to tell you I'm all right." They talked for a few minutes. Grandma Rose asked about Sarah's work, her cat, even reminded her about that recipe for the apple pie she loved. Then the line went silent. Sarah checked the phone. The call ended. Shaken, she called her parents. They had confirmed what she already knew deep down. Grandma Rose was gone. The phone company had no record of the call. Sarah was left with a chilling question. Who or what had she just spoken to? So what do you think? Fact or fiction? Could Sarah have truly spoken to her deceased grandmother? Or was it a cruel mind trick? Stories like these have circulated for years, preying on our grief and our longing for connection. Could technology somehow bridge the gap between worlds? Or is there more rational explanation? The Phantom Phone Call is certainly fiction. While the emotional core of the story, the desire to connect with the lost ones we've loved, is very real, the idea of receiving a phone call from beyond the grave falls firmly into the realm of urban legend. These stories tap into our deepest fears and hopes, but there's no credible evidence to support their reality. They often serve as a way to process grief, but they rarely reflect actual events. The Phantom Phone Call is a powerful example of how our emotions can shape our perceptions. Tale 2. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. Our next story takes us to a lonely stretch of highway, where a chance encounter turns into a chilling mystery. This is The Vanishing Hitchhiker. Mark was driving home late one night, a long, empty road stretching out before him. Rain was coming down in sheets, making visibility poor. Suddenly, he saw a figure by the side of the road. Thumb out. It was a young woman, soaked to the bone. Mark felt a pang of sympathy and pulled over. She got in, thanked him quietly, and gave directions. She was pale and didn't say much. As they approached the bridge, she suddenly gasped and pointed. "There, be careful." Mark slammed on the brakes, narrowly avoiding the deer in the road. He turned to thank her, but she was gone. The doors were locked. There was nowhere for her to go. Shaken, Mark drove on. The next day, he stopped at a diner and told his story to the waitress. She paled. "That bridge?" she whispered. "That's where they say a young woman was killed in a car accident years ago. They say her spirit still haunts the stretch of road." Fact or fiction? Have you heard stories like this before? Vanishing Hitchhiker is one of the most widespread urban legends, with versions told almost in every culture. Is it a ghostly encounter, a figment of imagination, or something else entirely? The Vanishing Hitchhiker is a classic example of fiction, albeit one that's deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness. While the story is compelling, it's a product of folklore and storytelling, not real events. The variations of the story are endless. The core elements, the hitchhiker, the sudden disappearance, the connection with a past tragedy, remain consistent. It's a story that taps our anxieties about travel, the unknown, and the supernatural. While it's highly unlikely that anyone's actually encountered a vanishing hitchhiker, this story persists because it resonates with our fears and our fascinations with the unexplained. Tale 3. Air Force Flight 571. Christmas Eve, 1971. 17-year-old Julian Cupcake was flying with her mother over a Peruvian rainforest when their plane encountered a violent storm. Lightning struck the aircraft, ripping it apart midair. Julianne, still strapped in to her seat, was thrown from the plane, plummeting 10,000 feet into the dense jungle canopy below. Miraculously, she survives the fall. She landed in a relatively soft patch of vegetation. Dazed and injured, she found herself alone in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. She had no food, no supplies, and her mother was nowhere to be found. For 10 days, Julianne navigated the treacherous jungle, battling insects, jaguars, and extreme heat, and the constant fear of the unknown. She followed a small stream, hoping it would lead her to civilization. She eventually stumbled upon a group of indigenous people who helped her a nearby settlement. Julian Cupcake's survival is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, a story of resilience against impossible odds. Fact or fiction? Could you survive such a fall? Could anyone navigate the Amazon alone? Julian's story is almost unbelievable. Is it a miracle? Is there a more rational explanation? Julian Cupcake's survival is an undeniable fact. Her fall, her 10-day trek, her eventual rescue, all documented. The details of her journey, the precise moments of her ordeal, the full psychological impact, these are often filled in with speculation. While her survival is indisputable, the narrative surrounding it can sometimes stray into the realm of fiction. As we try to comprehend the impossible, scientists have suggested her seat acted like a parachute and the dense foliage broke her fall. But the mental fortitude required to survive such an ordeal is truly extraordinary.